Well, thank you very much, Leah, and good morning, everyone. And as Leah said, welcome to Toronto. Some people may look at this as being the Ford Nation, but I'm not one of those. Let me also say that welcome to Toronto summer, because we've not had a summer and it has finally arrived, and I obviously credit you for bringing that with us. I thought about what I was going to say today, and what I wanted to do is that my remarks are going to be brief because I know that you've got a lot of work ahead of you. My relationship with the TWU go back to the early 1980s when I first moved to Kimberley, BC. I got to know some of you activists that at that time you had an office, you had quite a large center up in Cranbrook, British Columbia, and I remember a sister by the name of Denise Buchan, who was a leader in the Kootenays and was involved in the federations, involved in the Labour Council. So I've known for a long time and have met many, many TWU members across the country. Also, since I became the National Director in 2004 and since the Strategic Alliance, I have met many of the people in this room. I've been to the building power courses. I've walked Labor Day parades. I've been to numerous events, be it the Women of Steel conventions or be it our international conventions or the Federation or the Canadian Labour Congress. And I can tell you that for the time that I have been involved, from my early days in the early 80s when I talked about the TWU to the most recent events with regards to the merger, be it the first and now be it the second. I've also been to many of your community town halls, and I've always come back being inspired by the fact that these are trade unionists, no different than steelworkers. And for that, I'm very grateful. You've heard me speak many times for those that I've had the opportunity to meet. And when I spoke about the fact is that the steelworkers have had a total of 18 mergers. And I hope that this becomes the 19th merger. And I can honestly say to you standing here before you today, that each and every time that we've gone through a merger, we become a better organizations by bringing the synergies of the organizations together, and I'm sure that that would not change. And I can assure you that you will have the full support of the Executive Board. You've got some of the members here today. You've got Steve Hunt from District 3. You've got Fred Redmond, who you'll hear from, and later on you're also going to hear from Leo Gerard. The merger agreement before you today is the agreement that was brought back after the first one just came short of being successful. I think as Lee has mentioned in his recent comments, as we all know, there's been some misrepresentations in the past one. I'm going to put that behind. The fact of the matter is that your merger committee has listened, and they came back, sit down to negotiate a new agreement, and the steelworkers listened, and that's why you have the agreement that's before you. Many of you have heard me say, the most important thing we do as labor leaders is to negotiate the collective agreements. The most important duty that we have as officers of the union is to make sure that we negotiate collective agreements. That is your dignity, that is your justice, that is your benefits, that is your pensions. That's what we have to do. That's where the onus is. And we can't lose sight of that particular fact. This merger agreement isn't about Ken Neumann or Steve Hunt or Fred Redmond or Lee Riggs. This merger agreement is about you in this room and the members that you are here to represent on behalf. That's what this merger agreement is about. You've heard me say, you've heard others say. I can't guarantee you that if we fight, that we're going to win. But I can guarantee you that if we don't fight, we're going to lose. So brothers and sisters, this is what it's all about. It's about your bargaining strength. And the employers understand that you have, if you have the backing or not, and they understand the position of power. Let me just give you some examples. You've heard me say, some of you, in 1995 we've had the rubber workers that merged. This is a union that had close to 100,000 members. The rubber workers were locked out by Goodyear Tire. We merged, and the next day as they were locked out, there was in excess of 2,000 people that were locked out. That then Leo Gerard was the Secretary-Treasurer. He was starting to write strike checks. Not only were they locked out, the company scabbed the facilities that these people were on the verge of losing their jobs. When that merge took place, the strike fund took effect immediately, and I can tell you that today, brothers and sisters, not only did the scabs disappear from those facilities, the workers returned to those particular jobs, and since then I can tell you, because of the strength and the global corporations that we've been able to do a campaign across the globe, that they've seen fit to negotiate a collective agreement. And today, the company and the union have had successive collective agreements. And today, we've also brought some of the jobs back to America because of the Chinese of dumping the tires. We've gone hand in hand to protect those jobs. That's what the steelworkers have done. That's what that merger has done when those employees decided that that's what they needed. I also can tell you, and I know some of you know, that recently, shortly after the 2000 merge of the IWA, it wasn't very long after that they had to take on their so-called employers. And they went on strike, and they had the defense of the Strike and Defense Fund, and it cost in the tens of the millions of dollars. That wasn't the issue. The issue was, the fact is that the employer knew that they're not going to starve the woodworkers back. And sadly, as I stand here today, as I've been in British Columbia for many years, to see what has transpired in BC more recently, the teachers, these are the folks that are in the front line that are going to teach your sons and daughters and grandkids to hopefully that they have a future. And the government of British Columbia has taken advantage. They've taken advantage of 2 court decisions that they tried to bargain away. And yes, unfortunately, the teachers' fund went dry. And yes, it was good to have the labor movement come together and give some loans, including ours and many others. And at the end of the day, they come to a collective agreement. But my point being, brothers and sisters, is that the teachers were taken advantage of by the government because they didn't have the ability to sustain the strike. You're also going to hear, and you've heard me talk about it, Rio Tinto in our backyard from Alma, Quebec. You're going to have one of the chaps speak to you about that battle, where we had a global company come into this country. A company that made over $4 billion of profit and basically have locked out the workers. They were on strike for 4.5 months. You're going to hear that story of how we've been able to mobilize a global campaign and turn that around and then get a collective agreement. Brothers and sisters, this merger agreement, if you look at it, you're going to have an opportunity to discuss it. You've got the material. This is built to give you the tools of building power. Education. I look at 15% of your members are going to have the ability to get education. We're going to have the ability to organize members, which we've not been able to do for some time. You've got education. You've got local union autonomy. Your pensions, as you've talked about. Our ability to organize. Assistance with arbitrations and whatnot. That's what it gives to you in this room, and that's what it gives to the members that you're so fortunate to represent. As I said earlier, this merger is not about me or anybody in this room. This merger is about you and the members that you represent. And that is the responsibility that we all have. Before I close, I can just tell you that we just recently come from our convention. Our convention had in excess of close to 3,000 participants. 2,500 of those were steelworkers. It was the most energized convention I've been at. We had a total of 88 international guests from around the globe. And why that is important, brothers and sisters, and the reason I mention that, it's those 88 global partners that we have. Then when we take on the Goodyears, or the Bridgestone Firestone, or the Ravenswood, or Rio Tinto, those are the allies that link arms with us, and that gives us the power and the ability to show companies that we do have the ability to affect, and we do also have the ability that you're not going to starve us back, and that's why it's so important. We also heard at that convention is the steelworkers in Canada in the last 4 years, we're an organizing union. We've organized some 14,000 members, and that's why it's so important that we're going to have the opportunity to organize in a sector that desperately needs it, be it Shaw, be it TELUS, or be it some of the other carriers that you have. I just want to say this. I've been to many of your conventions. I've seen many of the debates. And what keeps coming up is what happened and transpired in 2005. I walked that picket line. I know that we've assisted to whatever extent we could. And ever since that, that's the message that I've heard. We have an opportunity because it's no longer the so-called BC Tel family, I think as everybody knows, and I spoke to someone yesterday. This is now a global corporation. And global corporations understand. They understand of how they can split and divide. And the fact of the matter is, brothers and sisters, as I said earlier, I can't guarantee if you fight you're going to win, but I can guarantee if we don't fight, you're going to lose. We have an opportunity to change that course. We have an opportunity to tell us the message and make sure that you get a collective agreement that your members serve. Your members get up and go to work every single day to make that company what it is today. You should be proud of what you've been able to accomplish. It's one of the largest communications companies in the world, and that's what's important. And this gives you the tools. So I just want to say to you, no different than what Lee said. Let's show the solidarity. There's nothing wrong with having a good, decent debate. Let's show the solidarity of having a high ratification vote coming out of here. Let's then go out into the fields. Let's go into the locals to talk to the members, to talk about the importance about having that solidarity, and let's make this thing happen. And let's go on to the bargaining in 2015. Let's go on to the organizing. Let's go on to the education. That's what it's all about. Thank you, and solidarity.